So these self-service kiosk type computers that you may have seen in some stationery stores, they're quite underwhelming in their performance. This is an older model now. It's using Intel Atom N455 processor at 1.6 gigahertz. That is only a single core processor. It does support 64-bit instructions, but it only supports a maximum of 2 gigs of RAM, which is currently what's installed in this device. I rescued this from e-waste just to have a play around with it and see what I could do with it. Turns out not much, but it does have its uses. I'll just give you a demonstration of what I have been able to do with it. I'll just power it up. And we'll see it booting up shortly. I have installed Windows Vista, mainly because that's what I had on hand, and I was able to find a driver for the Intel GMA 3150 graphics. There is a driver also available for Windows 7. You want to keep it nice and lightweight because this thing does not have a lot of performance to offer. I did try running Linux. Unfortunately, the Intel drivers that come with it don't support this version graphics chip properly, or it's probably more likely the display. You just get a constantly distorted image, and there's nothing I could do to get that working other than dumping the Intel graphics and switching to VESA mode, which just makes it perform even worse. But running Vista, it's perfectly usable as a very basic computer. Of course, as a basic computer, we can use it for things like DosBox. So we can run some vintage DOS applications on here with Sound Blaster support, because it has Intel HD audio or AC97, whatever it is. There's absolutely no way of getting that working in real mode DOS, but DOSBox in Windows works fine. I have not bothered to create a batch file for this yet, so I just map the C drive every time. I've got a few games on here to demonstrate. Most interestingly, it runs Duke 3D without an issue. I need to tidy up these directories, but anyway, we'll see this. And yes, you have USB mouse support with DOSBox. It's one of the benefits. You don't have to mess around with sound and old serial mice or PS2 mice. It just works with whatever Windows is using. So yes, an old Kiosk computer could be a handy little tabletop DOS gaming PC. Works perfectly fine. But don't think about doing anything like playing YouTube videos on it. That processor just does not have the horsepower for that. The other thing, Vista has no support for the Ethernet ports on this device. I believe there's only drivers for Windows 7 and beyond, but yeah, you don't want to be running Windows 10 on this thing. It just sits pegged at 100% CPU usage. Even at idle state, it's just not even usable. but Windows Vista and Windows 7 work fine. Linux does support the Ethernet ports, but yeah, the graphics are going to be an issue. The other thing that could be really useful is using it as a improvised Borescope, because I do have a USB Borescope connected to it at the moment. We'll just open that capture device in VLC player. See what that looks like. And yes, this is a 12 volt device, so in theory you could just connect this to your car battery and use it out on the car. And yes, it does have a destroyed USB port, but that's pretty standard with anything that's used by members of the public. So I expect that that's a common issue. Yes, that's not bad for a piece of e-waste that was basically going in the trash. It can be quite useful. I don't know that I'll actually use it, but it was fun to play with anyway. I have much better computers at my disposal. It's just, yeah, a bit of an experiment when you can get your hands on an old piece of junk to see what you can do with it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that short demonstration of bringing some life back to a piece of e-waste.